Welcome back to our channel History Coins HD. As you that old as gold, but these rare $quarter coins that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them. You're lucky if you have one of these, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. Today we have something truly remarkable for you, a coin that many people overlook, but could potentially be worth a small fortune. We're talking about the 1965 Washington quarter dollar. This seemingly ordinary coin, produced by the United States Mint, has a story and a value that could surprise you. If you think all quarters are created equal, think again. Stick with us until the end to learn just how much a 1965 Washington quarter dollar could be worth in today's market. In 1965, the U.S. Mint made a significant change to the composition of the nation's coins. This was a time of major upheaval in the country's economic landscape. The government faced a silver shortage, and as a result, the mint decided to replace the silver content in many coins, including the quarter, with a clad composition. The 1965 Washington quarter was one of the first coins to feature this new composition, which consisted of copper nickel instead of the silver that was traditionally used. However, what makes the 1965 Washington quarter particularly interesting for collectors is that some of these coins were mistakenly struck with the old silver content, making them highly sought after today. These coins are part of a phenomenon that collectors refer to as error coins, and their rarity is what has contributed to their rising value. Before we dive into the specifics of how much a 1965 Washington quarter dollar could be worth, let's first talk about the design. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to honor George Washington, the first president of the United States. The coin features a portrait of Washington on the obverse, facing left, with the inscription Liberty and the year of minting. On the reverse side, you'll find an eagle with outstretched wings, a design that symbolizes the strength and unity of the United States. The reverse also displays the words United States of America and E Pluribus Unum, the nation's motto. The standard 1965 Washington quarter was produced with a copper-nickel clad composition, which was a shift from the traditional silver quarters. However, it's important to note that the vast majority of these coins were made with the new material, and they are not the ones that collectors are particularly interested in. What collectors are on the lookout for are the rare 1965 quarters that were mistakenly struck with silver. These silver error coins have become incredibly valuable over time because they are exceedingly rare. According to reports from numismatic experts, fewer than 100 silver 1965 Washington quarters were produced, which makes them a genuine rarity in the world of coin collecting. Finding one of these coins in circulation today would be nearly impossible, but that's part of what makes them so valuable. And now, you might be wondering, how much is a 1965 Washington quarter actually worth? Well, it all comes down to the condition of the coin and whether or not it's one of those rare silver error coins. In general, the standard 1965 quarter, made of copper nickel, is worth about its face value, 25 cents. However, when you're talking about the silver error coins, the value jumps dramatically. If you manage to come across one of these rare silver 1965 Washington quarters, it could be worth far more than just a few dollars. In fact, these coins can fetch upwards of tens of thousands of dollars at auction, depending on their condition. The price can vary based on factors such as whether the coin is uncirculated or has been well preserved, as well as the overall demand from collectors at the time of sale. Now, here's the moment you've been waiting for. How much could you actually make from selling a rare 1965 Washington quarter dollar? In the current market, a silver era 1965 Washington quarter could be worth as much as $63,000. That's right, this coin, which originally had a face value of just 25 cents, could potentially sell for tens of thousands of dollars, depending on its rarity and condition. And if you're fortunate enough to find one of these rare silver error coins in your collection or in circulation, it could be the jackpot you've been waiting for. But remember, finding one of these coins is incredibly rare, so don't expect to come across one every day. If you do happen to find one, be sure to get it appraised by a professional numismatist or take it to a reputable coin dealer to verify its authenticity and value. In the world of coin collecting, there's always the chance that you'll stumble upon a rare gem like the 1965 Washington quarter. Coins that are overlooked or deemed common can sometimes turn out to be worth far more than anyone expected. This is why it's so important to always keep an eye out for unusual or rare coins, especially if you come across something that looks a little different from the rest. If you have a collection of older coins, it might be worth your time to take a closer look at your Washington quarters, especially those from the mid-1960s. If you don't have one yet, it could be time to start hunting, as you never know when you might uncover one of these valuable silver era coins. In conclusion, the 1965 Washington quarter is much more than just a piece of currency. It represents a unique moment in U.S. history, and for collectors, it holds a fascinating value due to its rarity and historical significance. If you're lucky enough to find one of the silver era coins, you could be holding onto a rare treasure that could be worth a lot more than you imagine. So, the next time you're flipping through your coin collection, keep your eyes peeled for a 1965 Washington quarter. You just might be holding onto a piece of U.S. history worth $63,000. Thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe to our channel for more fascinating insights into the world of rare and valuable coins. Top 2. We're diving into one of the most sought-after coins in the United States, the 1974 Washington quarter dollar. You might have a few of these quarters lying around, but did you know that one of these coins could be worth a small fortune? Stay tuned as we explore why the 1974 Washington quarter is so special and how much it's worth today. The Washington quarter dollar has been a cornerstone of American currency since its introduction in 1932, but not all of them are created equal. While many of these coins are still in circulation today, the 1974 Washington quarter stands out for its rarity and the potential value it holds. If you've ever wondered why certain coins are more valuable than others, let's break it down for you. The 1974 Washington quarter came at a time when the United States was undergoing significant social and political changes. America was in the midst of the post-Vietnam War era, and the nation was grappling with a variety of economic issues. However, these historical events are not what make the 1974 Washington quarter special. Instead, its unique characteristics, minting process, and rarity contribute to its desirability among collectors today. And now, let's take a closer look at the design of the 1974 Washington quarter. On the obverse, you'll find a familiar image of George Washington, the first president of the United States. His profile is facing left, with the inscriptions "Liberty" above and "In God We Trust" below. This portrait has been a defining feature of the quarter since its inception, symbolizing Washington's lasting legacy in American history. On the reverse side of the coin, you'll notice an eagle perched on a branch, with its wings spread wide. Above the eagle, the word United States of America is inscribed, with a quarter dollar below. The design is simple yet powerful, reflecting the strength and unity of the United States. So, why is the 1974 Washington quarter so valuable? The answer lies in the coin's rarity and the condition it's in. While these quarters were minted in large numbers, not all of them have survived in pristine condition. Coins that have been heavily circulated are much less valuable because of the wear and tear they experience over time. In contrast, those in near-perfect, uncirculated condition are much more sought after by collectors. Finding a 1974 Washington quarter in excellent condition is already a rare occurrence, but there's an even more valuable reason why certain coins from this year stand out. There are reports of a small number of 1,974 quarters that were minted with a unique flaw, making them even more valuable. These minting errors, often referred to as error coins, can significantly increase a coin's value because they are one of a kind and cannot be replicated. Collectors are always on the lookout for these special pieces, as they can add significant value to their collections. One of the most notable errors associated with the 1974 Washington quarter is a die clash error. This occurs when two dies used in the minting process collide with each other, creating unusual marks or features on the coin's surface. Coins with these types of minting errors are incredibly rare, and collectors will often pay top dollar for them. If you happen to come across a 1974 Washington quarter with an error, you might be holding onto something worth far more than face value. Another factor that contributes to the value of the 1974 Washington quarter is its low mintage in certain regions. While millions of these coins were produced in total, some were minted in smaller numbers at specific minting facilities, making them harder to find today. The rarity of these coins, combined with their historical significance, has made them highly desirable to coin collectors. Now, you're probably wondering just how much a 1974 Washington quarter could be worth. Well, the value of these coins can vary depending on factors like their condition, whether they feature any minting errors, and how rare they are in the current market. A well-preserved, uncirculated 1974 Washington quarter can fetch a respectable amount of money, but some of the rarest and most valuable versions of this coin can sell for as much as $52,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $52,000. That's right, a single 1974 Washington quarter could be worth a staggering $52,000, depending on its rarity and condition. So, if you have any old quarters lying around, now might be a good time to take a closer look at them. You never know, what you thought was just pocket change could actually be a hidden treasure. In conclusion, the 1974 Washington quarter is much more than just a coin from the past. It's a piece of American history with a unique design, a fascinating story, and the potential to be worth a small fortune. If you're a coin collector or someone who simply loves discovering hidden gems, keep an eye out for this particular quarter. You might just be holding onto a rare treasure that could change your financial future. Thank you for joining us today as we explored the rare and valuable 1974 Washington quarter. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about rare coins and their fascinating histories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a future discovery. Top 3. We're going to talk about a coin that, while often overlooked by most, could actually be worth a fortune. That's right, we're diving into the world of the 1981 Washington quarter dollar, a rare coin that could bring a windfall if you're lucky enough to have one in your possession. So, grab your magnifying glass, because we're about to uncover the true value of this elusive quarter. First, let's set the stage with a bit of history. The 1981 Washington quarter was minted in large quantities, just like the majority of U.S. coins produced during that era. In fact, millions of these quarters were struck at the Denver Mint and circulated widely in everyday transactions. On the surface, the 1981 quarter doesn't seem all that special. After all, it's just one in a long line of Washington quarters that have been in circulation for decades. However, what makes the 1981 Washington quarter so intriguing is its rarity when it comes to finding one in pristine, uncirculated condition. The design of the 1981 quarter features the iconic image of George Washington on the obverse, facing left, with the inscriptions "Liberty" above and "In God We Trust" beneath him. This portrait of the first U.S. president has been the standard design on the Washington quarter since its debut in 1932, marking his legacy in American currency. On the reverse, you'll find the majestic eagle perched on a branch, a classic symbol of American strength and freedom. Above the eagle, you'll see United States of America, and beneath it, the words "quarter dollar," identifying the coin's denomination. The clean, straightforward design of the 1981 Washington quarter is something you've likely seen countless times, but what sets this particular coin apart is the condition it was kept in. You see, coins from the 1980s, like the 1981 Washington quarter, were produced in mass quantities and went into circulation quickly. Most of the coins minted during this time were used in day-to-day transactions and, over the years, have suffered from the inevitable wear and tear that comes with being used in pocket change. However, a small percentage of these quarters were kept in pristine, uncirculated condition, and that's where the true value lies. Finding a 1981 quarter in mint condition is no easy feat due to the high circulation rates of these coins. Most of them have been heavily worn down, leaving only a few in excellent shape. Collectors are constantly on the lookout for coins like this because their value skyrockets when they've been preserved in near-perfect condition. So, if you happen to come across a 1981 Washington quarter that looks as if it just came out of the mint, you might want to pay extra attention, as it could be a hidden gem. But wait, it gets even better. Some of the rarest 1981 Washington quarters feature unique characteristics or minting errors that make them even more valuable. One of the key factors in determining a coin's worth is the presence of a minting error. These are small flaws that occur during the production process, and they can turn an ordinary coin into an extraordinary one. If your 1981 quarter happens to have an error, such as a double die or off-center strike, it could dramatically increase its value. Coin collectors are willing to pay top dollar for these errors because they are incredibly rare and highly sought after by those looking to add exceptional pieces to their collection. It's also worth noting that the 1981 Washington quarter was minted during a time when the U.S. was experiencing economic challenges. The early 1980s saw high inflation and rising interest rates, which led to a shift in the way money was used and valued. In the years since, the 1981 quarter has become a relic of that time, adding to its historical significance. Collectors are always keen on acquiring coins that not only represent a particular era but also offer a glimpse into the economic landscape of the past. Now, I know you're probably wondering, how much is my 1981 Washington quarter really worth? Well, the value of these coins can vary depending on several factors, such as the coin's condition, whether it features any minting errors, and the overall demand in the market. While most 1981 Washington quarters are worth just a few dollars at best, a truly well-preserved, uncirculated coin or one with a rare minting error can fetch a much higher price, and here comes the exciting part. A 1981 D Washington quarter in excellent condition, or one with a minting error, can be worth an astonishing $48,000. Yes, you read that correctly, $48,000 for a single 1981 D Washington quarter. That's a life-changing amount of money for something you might find lying around in an old coin jar or tucked away in a drawer. So, before you toss out any old quarters or pass by them without a second glance, take a moment to check the date and mint mark. You could be holding onto something worth far more than its face value. If you have a collection of coins from the 1980s or have come across any 1981 D quarters in your change, it might be time to examine them closely. Who knows, you might just discover a rare coin that could put a substantial amount of money in your pocket. To sum it all up, the 1981 D Washington quarter is a prime example of how some coins, despite being produced in large quantities, can still hold tremendous value. Its rarity, minting errors, and historical significance make it a desirable piece for collectors. If you happen to have one in excellent condition, it could be worth a small fortune. So, keep your eyes peeled, check your pockets, and make sure to give your coins a second look. You never know when you'll come across a rare find that could change your life. Thank you for watching today's video on the rare and valuable 1981 D Washington quarter. If you enjoyed this deep dive into coin collecting and want to learn more about other valuable coins, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Top 4. We have an exciting topic that could turn your everyday pocket change into something worth far more than its face value. If you've ever wondered if those old quarters you have lying around are worth anything, this is the video for you. We're diving into the world of the 1973 Washington quarter, a coin that might just be hiding a fortune. If you think it's just another quarter, think again. Stick around to discover how much this rare coin could be worth and why it's capturing the attention of collectors and investors alike. The Washington quarter has been a staple of American currency since its introduction in 1932, but not all of these coins are created equal. While the design has remained relatively consistent over the years, featuring George Washington's iconic portrait on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse, some of these coins are far more valuable than others. One such coin is the 1973 Washington quarter, and today, we're going to explore what makes this particular coin so special. First, let's talk about the historical context surrounding the 1973 Washington quarter. The early 1970s were a time of economic and social upheaval in the United States. The country was recovering from the turbulent 1960s and dealing with inflation, the Vietnam War's aftermath, and an oil crisis. It was a time of change, and the 1973 Washington quarter reflects a moment in time that is often overlooked by history books. While the coin was minted in relatively high quantities, more than 200 million pieces were produced, it wasn't long before this specific coin started disappearing from circulation. And that's where the rarity factor comes in. The 1973 Washington quarter was minted in large numbers, but not all of these coins are easy to find today in excellent condition. Coins from this time period were used in daily transactions, and, like most coins that see a lot of circulation, they experienced wear and tear. This wear can diminish a coin's value, making it far less desirable to collectors. However, if you can find a 1973 Washington quarter in mint condition, you could be holding onto a coin worth much more than its original face value. What makes the 1973 Washington quarter even more intriguing is the possibility of minting errors. Occasionally, errors occur during the coin production process, leading to unique variations in the coin's design. These errors can include things like double strikes, misprints, or off-center strikes, and they can turn a seemingly ordinary coin into a rare and valuable treasure. When it comes to the 1973 Washington quarter, collectors are on the lookout for any coins with these kinds of anomalies because they could be worth a lot more. For example, a 1973 Washington quarter with a double die or an off-center strike could be incredibly valuable. These minting errors are rare, and they make the coin a one-of-a-kind collector's item. Minting errors are highly sought after in the coin collecting world, and they can dramatically increase the value of a coin. If you're lucky enough to find a 1973 Washington quarter with one of these errors, you might be sitting on a small fortune. Aside from minting errors, the 1973 Washington quarter is valuable because it represents a period of American history that was full of change. Coins from the early 1970s are considered historical artifacts, and their scarcity, especially in excellent condition, only adds to their appeal. For collectors, owning a piece of history is a huge draw, and the 1973 quarter offers just that. So, how much could a 1973 Washington quarter actually be worth? Well, the value of these coins can vary significantly depending on their condition. A typical 1973 Washington quarter, which shows signs of wear and has been in circulation, is worth only a few dollars. But when you find one that has been kept in near perfect, uncirculated condition, the price can skyrocket. The presence of a rare minting error, like a double die or off-center strike, can push the value of this coin even higher. Here's the exciting part: if you happen to come across a 1973 Washington quarter in pristine condition, or one with a rare minting error, you could be looking at a coin worth as much as $57,000. Yes, you heard that right, $57,000 for a single 1973 Washington quarter. This is no small change. For coin collectors and investors, this represents a huge opportunity to turn a simple coin into a small fortune. Now, you may be wondering how to tell if your 1973 Washington quarter is worth so much. The first thing to do is check the condition of the coin. If it's been heavily circulated and shows significant wear, its value will likely be closer to its face value. But if you find one that has been kept in mint condition, perhaps one that's been tucked away in a coin collection or a safe, you're off to a good start. Look for signs of wear, scratches, or discoloration. The less wear and tear, the higher the value. Next, pay close attention to any potential minting errors. Double strikes, off-center strikes, or other unusual characteristics can significantly increase the value of a coin. If you suspect that your 1973 Washington quarter may have a minting error, it's worth getting it professionally graded. A reputable grading service can help determine the coin's authenticity and condition, which will give you a better idea of its worth. In conclusion, the 1973 Washington quarter is far from just another ordinary coin. While it may have been minted in large quantities, finding one in excellent condition, especially one with a rare minting error, makes this coin a hidden treasure that collectors are eager to get their hands on. If you've got a 1973 Washington quarter lying around, it might be worth taking a closer look. You could be sitting on a valuable piece of history that could fetch you a staggering $57,000. Thank you for joining us today as we explored the rare and valuable 1973 Washington quarter. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of rare coins and want to learn more about other hidden treasures, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. We've got more exciting discoveries coming your way. Top 5: The 1978 Washington Quarter Dollar. While these coins may seem like just another quarter, the 1978 version hides a fascinating story and a surprising value that's catching the attention of collectors and investors alike. So, grab your magnifying glass and let's see what makes this seemingly ordinary coin a potential goldmine. The Washington quarter has been an integral part of American currency since its first appearance in 1932, but not all quarters are created equal. In fact, some are much rarer and more valuable than others. The 1978 Washington quarter is one of those coins, and its value goes far beyond its simple design and familiar history. Let's take a closer look at what makes this coin so special. The 1978 Washington quarter was minted during a time of significant change and transition in the United States. The country was in the midst of an economic recovery, recovering from the high inflation and economic turbulence of the 1970s. Despite the relative stability in the late 70s, many coins from this era were circulated widely, which means that most of them have been worn down over time. But the true value of the 1978 Washington quarter lies in its rarity when found in pristine condition. The design of the 1978 Washington quarter is not unlike other quarters of the time. On the obverse, you'll find the well-known portrait of George Washington, the first president of the United States, facing left. Above his image, the word liberty is inscribed, with "In God We Trust" beneath it. This timeless design is a symbol of America's founding ideals and continues to grace the quarter to this day. On the reverse, the quarter features an eagle perched on an olive branch, with the words United States of America above it and quarter dollar below. This design represents the strength and resilience of the United States, with the eagle being a symbol of freedom and power. Although this design is iconic, it's not the key factor that makes the 1978 Washington quarter so valuable. The real value of this coin lies in its scarcity, specifically when it comes to finding one in excellent condition. While millions of these quarters were minted and circulated, many were used in daily transactions and became worn over time. Coins that are heavily circulated, with visible scratches, dents, or discoloration, have a much lower value. The true treasure, however, is a 1978 Washington quarter in mint condition. Free from these imperfections, coins in mint condition, those that have never been in circulation, are much rarer and much more valuable. So, if you happen to have a 1978 Washington quarter that looks as if it was just freshly minted, you could be holding onto a hidden gem. But the value doesn't end there. Some of these quarters also feature rare minting errors, which can make them even more desirable and worth a lot more. Minting errors are one of the most exciting aspects of coin collecting. These errors occur when something goes wrong during the production process, leading to unique and unusual characteristics in a coin. These errors can take many forms, such as double strikes, off-center prints, or misaligned dies. When a coin like the 1978 Washington quarter has one of these rare errors, it becomes even more valuable because it's a one-of-a-kind piece. Collectors love error coins because they represent a small piece of history and are often much more difficult to find than regular, error-free coins. For example, a 1978 Washington quarter with a double die, a rare error that happens when the die strikes the coin more than once, could fetch a premium price. The more significant the error, the higher the value. And since coins with such flaws are so rare, they are highly sought after by collectors who are eager to add them to their collections. But let's not forget about the historical context of the 1978 Washington quarter. While the coin may not have been minted during a time of great turmoil like some other coins, it still carries the weight of being a product of a specific era in American history. The late 1970s marked the end of a decade filled with economic challenges, and as we look back, the 1978 coin serves as a reminder of those times. Coins like the 1978 Washington quarter are part of America's financial legacy, and owning one can be like holding a piece of the past in your hands. Now, you may be wondering, just how much is the 1978 Washington quarter worth? Well, the value of a typical 1978 quarter, in circulated condition, is generally only worth its face value, 25 cents. But the story changes dramatically when you find one in exceptional, uncirculated condition. And if you happen to have a 1978 Washington quarter with a rare minting error, you could be in for an even bigger surprise. These coins can sell for thousands of dollars at auctions or to eager collectors, and here's the most exciting part: a 1978 Washington quarter in pristine condition, or one with a significant minting error, can be worth as much as $54,000. Yes, you heard that right, $54,000 for a single 1978 Washington quarter. It's hard to believe that a quarter, a coin that you might have in your pocket, could be worth that much. But in the world of coin collecting, rarity, condition, and minting errors play a huge role in determining the price. If you happen to find a 1978 Washington quarter that looks like it's never seen circulation, or if you have one with a unique minting error, you might want to consider getting it appraised or professionally graded. A coin that's been graded and certified by a reputable grading service will not only help determine its value but also ensure its authenticity, which can be crucial when selling or auctioning the coin. In conclusion, the 1978 Washington quarter is much more than just another coin from a bygone era. Its value is tied to its rarity, condition, and the potential for minting errors. If you come across a well-preserved 1978 quarter, or one that has a rare flaw, you could be holding onto a rare and valuable piece of American history. With the potential to be worth as much as $54,000, this coin is a treasure worth seeking out. Thank you for joining us today on this deep dive into the rare and valuable 1978 Washington quarter. If you enjoyed learning about the hidden treasures that might be lurking in your pocket change, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a future discovery. Happy collecting!